Welcome to Breaking the Chains Repatriation Journeys. I'm Bakita, and today I have Shauna on with me. Shauna has been in Nigeria for the past how many
Six,
months?
7 months. It's 6.5 actually.
Yeah. So Shauna, would you introduce yourself? Let everybody know who you are. I'm sure some of the people watching know you because a lot of people have been following your story, but I figured it's time for us to kind of let's lay out the thing about this Nigeria.
Hey everyone, I am Shauna. I'm sorry my voice is a little bit gone. I've been rushing and doing way too much. I live in the Washington, D.C. area, Northern Virginia specifically. I have known Bakita since high school. We would go way, way, way back,
Way
20
back.
plus years, 20 plus years to skip day parties and everything else, Saturday science, courses. We've known each other for forever,
For a long
for a
time.
long, long, long,
Yeah.
long time. So I'm happy to be with her. And actually, when I started on this particular journey, Bakita was one of the first people that I reached out to because she was married to an African man, and that was definitely a nuance of relationships that I felt comfortable talking to her. And she was one of the first people I confided in about my relationship. So happy
Right.
to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shauna. So you spent almost 7 months in Nigeria.
Yes.
What took you to Nigeria?
Well, I am married. My husband's Nigerian. I got married January 2nd to a Nigerian man. And when this COVID, I go back, I was going back, traveling back very often to see him, like every 6 weeks or so, or very frequently.
A lot of
I
travel.
never had a long block of time in Nigeria just because of work obligations and family obligations. I'm a single parent to a teenager. So I would always spend 2, 3 weeks there. So this time I committed to spending Easter thinking this thing would blow over in 2 or 3 weeks. And 7 months later, it still hasn't blown over. So I
Right.
just stayed despite having the opportunity to evacuate, which is open to US citizens. I just took advantage of that time. My job said, we could work remotely. So I just worked remotely from my other home, which was in Nigeria. So that's kind of how that played out.
Wow. So now some people would say, why would you choose to get on a plane and go to
Yes.
Nigeria
Yes.
in the middle of a pandemic?
Um, I felt like if I was going to be in the middle of the pandemic, I would want to be with family. And so that was either my mother, my husband, or my son. And in this case, I chose to be with my husband and his family. And I didn't have any fears about, going there with a pandemic or, I didn't even worry about any of those things. It was either I'm going to be with my mother, my husband, or my son. And I just, kind of rolled the dice and went to Nigeria to
Right.
be with my husband.
Okay. Did you so your son, where was your son during this time?
To me. But my son was actually in Florida with his grandmother, his
Mhm.
paternal grandmother, who longs for the opportunity to spend more time with him. And I plan to have him there with her for spring break.
Mhm.
I have been getting in the habit of sending him there for those, winter breaks or spring breaks, kind of one of the other breaks. And so she was going to have him for spring break. And so it just turned out to be COVID break.
Months. Yeah. Yeah, COVID
And
break.
so he was with her. I think, other than being with me or my mother, that was certainly, I couldn't think of any other person that he would be just as safe with. And so I think that was a really good decision.
Mhm.
Some people kind of judge me, I would say, for going to Africa and leaving my son. I left him with his grandmother in Florida. And so he was really safe and secure in that environment. She's a retired school teacher. So she was also in a better position to educate him in this new learning environment, give him one-on-one attention, and help him get through the rest of the semester and certainly the summer.
Great. So,
So
you know, in the climate that we're in America, the social climate that we're
yes,
in, there's a lot of Black Americans and Caribbean Americans and people in general really looking to leave um, America for a different life.
Yeah.
You just spent 7 months, almost 7 months in Nigeria.
Yes.
So I think you would be able to give people who are looking to make a move and a good idea of what that could look like, because you ended up having to get an apartment and all of that stuff.
Yes. I mean, when I initially moved to Nigeria, Caribbean and African families, they tend to kind of live together.
Very
And so when
small.
I initially moved to Nigeria, I was actually living with my husband's sister and their family.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that took some adjustments because I'm not as religious as they are. So my sister-in-law is very religious. You're trying to be in Nigeria, particularly respect is everything. So you're just trying to respect the household. We kind of grew out of that. It was like, a lot of tensions in the house. My husband probably was ready to get out before tensions blew over, but that kind of forced us to find our own place. And
Yeah.
we did. And so, to anyone looking to move, I think it would be a little different experience from mine. Mine, COVID forced these changes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking I'm going to be around for 2 weeks, which I can stay in a hotel or at my sister-in-law's house. And turning in 7 months, you need to find more permanent solutions for everything. But
Right.
in a normal situation, then you would know in advance that you're moving. So you'd probably be looking for housing or looking for areas or working with a realtor prior to departing or prior to moving. That wasn't really the case for me. Everything kind of just happened on the cuff. Just as I went and as I progressed, we needed things to accommodate my now long-term stay.
Right. But I think that your experience is actually really valuable,
Yeah.
because you went from, oh, I'm probably going to be here for a month,
Yes.
to,
A couple weeks actually, but
yeah,
yes.
a couple of weeks to a
Yeah.
month, but it turned into 6 months, 7 months. So you ended up having to do what someone who would be actually attempting to make a move would have to do.
Yes.
So you had to find housing and buy furniture and do,
But, oh
oh
God,
man,
all of it.
you had to do all of those things.
To find
So,
agent, find multiple agents. And the thing about African agents that you don't have here, one, they pay by the year. The rent is paid by the year. And a lot of families kind of save and plan for those things. Here in America, we're used to month structures, whether it's your mortgage or your apartment. So that's particularly different. You pay for a year, and pretty much after your landlord has gotten your money, oh, there's nothing you can really do. It's very hard to break those leases.
it's it's
Uh,
it's it's a
it's,
pretty much a wrap.
yeah, it's pretty much right. I mean, you don't care if it's flooding, if it's leaking. We've had all those things. We had a new complex. There was water damage, intrusion, and the things that we could easily complain about in the U.S. and be like, "I'll sue you," and this is unacceptable. They don't really care. Your money,
Right.
you've already paid for the year,
Right.
and it's over. So you just gonna have to deal with that stuff yourself. Figure it out. So that was really different. Just finding, I would say in my case, having got married in January and having dated internationally, it was like a marriage boot camp in trying to find agents and trying to find real estate and furniture and set up cable and all these things in a very, very short period of time with kind of little to no planning or anticipation for it, just kind of having to go on the cuff.
So how was it looking for a place? Like, because a lot of times they ask me, and it's always hard for me to explain how things work.
Yes.
What
And I'm sorry because I'm actually multitasking as well, but um,
How was it looking for, like, what did you have to do to find you a place in Nigeria?
well, we started talking to different friends and families and trying to research different areas. Our situation was further complicated by the fact that we were looking during COVID, during the period that things were locked down, when movement was restricted. And so having to pay people, which were exorbitant fees to help you search because it wasn't a time when everything's just open and you can go from area to area and there are open houses and things like that. You're paying drivers or realtors or different people to travel across town to open up the properties for you to see them. So I think those COVID complexities further complicated the matter. But typically, I mean, there are websites you can go to.
Mhm.
that show very, different property listings that will give you some general idea about the areas and the price points and the type of quality. It was important to me. I've been in America for a long time, but I'm new. Obviously, I had not done more than stayed with family or friends or in hotels in Nigeria, but I wanted to um, select housing that was sustainable beyond my departure. That was important to me. I didn't want to go get, a top luxury penthouse apartment that if I should leave, it might create some type of strain on those that I leave behind. So I didn't do that. I was really
Right.
particular about that.
Right. That was, I totally get it.
Yes.
So when you I remember you had a post and you were going through some of the things that people who make the move go through, even if it's not COVID, you
Yes.
know, craving certain
Oh
things,
my gosh.
needing certain things that you were having a
Mhm.
hard time finding. And this is why I find your experience to be so valuable, because you can help people to understand, like, what did it take for you
Okay.
to get through it, because I know it was tough because you didn't expect to be there. So it was
Mm-mm.
even tougher because mentally you hadn't even prepared yourself to be in Nigeria for
Not at all.
7 months. So how,
Right.
how did you do that?
Mentally, I mean, I'll be lying to say everything every day was easy. It wasn't. It wasn't easy. It was a big adjustment. But I had an attitude. My attitude about most things, about life in general, is that this is an experience.
Mhm.
And I will learn from it and I will grow from it. And so I didn't want to be, everyone knew me as a Black American. I didn't want to be the Black American in Nigeria. I tried my very best. They say, she really try, oh, she really try. Oh, I tried my very best to blend in and live as my husband and his friends live at their demographic level. I tried my very best. So, um, I think the biggest struggle for me is that I was working remotely. The biggest challenge for me was the network and the network speed. So as an American, if I plan to go there, there's so many things that I would probably try to do or do differently, whether that be buying certain technologies here. That's your Fire Stick, your Wi-Fi booster, your adapters, your multiple adapters. You can buy some of these things in Nigeria. You can buy them, but sometimes the quality is bad, and
And the quality.
yeah, the quality is bad, and it falls apart in a week, or 2 weeks. So if I plan differently, then I would go with some of the key things to help my technology because I really needed it. I would say that some of my performance at work likely suffered because of the speed at which I could perform certain tasks. It just wasn't up to par. I just ran a test here this morning, and my internet speed today was like 200 megabytes per second compared to 1.2 megabytes per second that I was getting most days in Nigeria. So
Ooh,
that was really, 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 and I always show people I did like a photo grid. I tested mine over there, and I tested my son's. I told my son to show me a screenshot of what his speed was at home, and I always show people I cannot work and I cannot perform at that same level,
at the
and
same.
that is just a real challenge. The network speeds, making sure you have whether it is a backup phone, your US phone and then your African phone,
Mm,
or finding out what is the most popular network there so you can get SIM cards and have data. One of the things that was very different was the fact that here we kind of pay for phone usage by the month,
not a
and you're
month.
paying and you don't really even worry like, okay, I just pay Sprint or T-Mobile or whomever, AT&T, and just going about your business. When
Mm-hmm.
there is data is purchased, by the gigabyte.
Yep.
Um, so you could just be on a conference call or
And
send a
bloop.
file to your colleagues, and next thing you out of data
Yep.
and not having anticipated that. So, to anyone that's looking to move, I would definitely research the technology, especially if you need it for work. To research that technology as much as you can in advance and buy any tools that you could possibly need, adapters, boosters, plugs, whatever, backup batteries, any of those things. I would definitely encourage you to research it and try to buy it and bring it with you,
Right.
just
I
to kind
totally,
of strengthen your connection as best as you can because the network it is not the same.
I totally agree. So,
Hmm.
um, how did you fare during the power with the power situation and
Oh my
the
gosh, the
water
power
situation?
situation. I mean, Nigeria, and I don't know, I can't speak for other African nations, but certainly Nigeria is known, well, infamous, for their power grid and their blackouts and their brownouts and every other kind of out. So it's very common, normal for me to be on this call right now and the power just go boom, lights off, power off, and it is a part of the day there to for power to go
Right.
on or off every few hours. In
Yeah,
some places, some rural, more remote areas it's very common for the power to be off for days.
for
I mean,
days.
I've been in many situations where I see the power come on and everyone's kind of celebrating, throwing a party in the streets. So it became quite normal. So you need a generator, you need some backup power source, and you need fuel for that power source. Those are the things that you have to
Yep.
factor when you're thinking about your budget or your plans. You have to have a generator. To even maintain some type of stability, you would have to have a generator. You'd have to be able to keep your power source with fuel, extra canisters to go get fuel if you have to. So these are things that just become a part of your day, things that you will desperately need.
Okay. So getting settled, because of course it wasn't your intentions to have to get settled, but
Hmm.
by force you had to get settled. So once you had to pay your rent for a year, you had
Yes,
to buy furniture, you had to
yes.
get a refrigerator and stove. Maybe did you have to do those things?
I did have to do those things. And to be but I those things at the very minimum. Because I didn't, and mentally I wasn't settled. Mentally, it was still a
Yeah.
temporary stay for me. So it wasn't, this is my permanent, like, I have the little fridge, the more small fridge that's like, this is enough to, just make sure you got cold juice.
Yeah.
Or freeze a couple items, or I didn't get the full range stove. You got the stove with two burners.
Right. Right.
I didn't get tables. Because this is not something that we planned and prepared for. So those are capital expenditures that in a normal environment you're saving. Maybe you got to buy an ottoman or a kitchen table or new
Right.
TV. So it's all stuff that's kind of happening very quickly at once. So needing to put all that stuff together with the resources, whether I or my husband could come up with, I purposefully and intentionally tried to minimize costs by getting the bare necessities. This
Right.
is definitely not the model home that I hope that we will someday build. No, it was bare necessities. What could you have to
I
be
feel you.
comfortable? Mhm.
You're in a situation that was kind of like, I won't say dire straits, but it wasn't where you was like, okay, I'm gonna be here for the next 5 years. So you were getting, I understand you were getting like minimum things. Um, so what did you do to cope with the electricity problem? And you mentioned earlier there was something that happened with a water issue. How
Oh
do you
goodness.
cope with these things?
So with regard to electricity, I mean, I just got used to it. It's part of you cannot be in Lagos, Nigeria and not expect your power to go off. Even if you are in the best hotels, the power is going to go off.
Yep.
And just the only difference is that they're going to have industrial generators to get those lights back up quickly and attempt to minimize the interruption. So I remember the first day I ever stepped foot in Nigeria, the power was off at the airport and I had to find my lights, my suitcases in dark. So it's just a situation is part of the culture and they're used to it. So you have to quickly adapt.
Yeah.
It was hard for me and being in conference calls or on my computer when the power cut off. That was kind of embarrassing. Um, but my coworker, I don't know what my performance review is going to look like, but we just kind of I try to tell people in advance of what may happen,
Yeah.
because I would be on the internet, the power would cut off, so the power on the Wi-Fi would cut off, which could possibly interrupt my call, and that was very challenging from a work perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I told people, and I hope that they don't punish me or judge me too hard. It was just part of my experience. We would typically try to get the generator up as quickly as possible. Hope I had fuel that day. Hope there was enough fuel to get me through the call or whatever I was doing at the time. We had a lot of water intrusion. Nigeria doesn't really have seasons in a sense of winter, spring, summer, fall. It's more like rainy season.
And rainy season and dry season.
Yeah, it's kind of it. So I was there rainy season and it rained. It really rained.
Yeah.
And we had a new complex. I would say that the landlord cut corners and kind of cut some of the engineers' recommendations and did not build the roof steep enough. So it was
Mm-hmm.
floods. It was floods. It was floods. It was so much damage, water intrusion. And you complain and you complain and you complain, and they send someone to fix it. And then it rains again, and the problem is still there. It's dripping and leaking to somewhere else. And you complain and you complain and you send someone to fix it. And
And you
to
already
me,
paid your money,
oh,
so
you
you
paid.
like,
I mean, you paid. In America, I'm like, yo, in America, I'm like, this is mold, this is water and damage that's intruding. That's mold, and it can create problems with my allergies and the allergens, and it makes me sick. In an American situation, you'd have a case. In
exactly.
a Nigerian situation, you just
You
will
you
come.
either deal with
With
it
the
or not.
coming tomorrow. So
Yeah.
you just had to live with it. And even when I left, that problem wasn't fully remedied. The place wasn't repainted from some of the water damage, and
Mm-hmm.
you're still complaining. I mean, the last message to my landlord was, I'm back safely, and the water intrusion, you really need to fix that. You really need to paint, like,
Yeah.
they they
So
don't really the pace at which people move is just much
oh,
slower and much more
it's very
relaxed.
you know where we get it. We know where we get our CP time from now,
Yeah,
don't
the
we?
pace is not. It's ridiculous.
They're not in
Yeah.
a rush for anything in West
Hmm.
Africa.
Hmm.
In Africa, from my conversations with most people, nobody in Africa is in a rush to do anything. So,
Yeah.
you know,
No.
that's very much an
Now,
American.
on the contrary, was if you didn't pay, if you had paid month to month or something like that, then I'm quite sure there would be a little more urgency
Yeah,
to remedy the problem. But because the money, I anticipate because the money's already spent, it's no one's in a hurry to fix your
yeah,
problem or hear your
yep,
problem. So,
yeah. So you're there in Nigeria, you've gotten
mhm.
settled in, you got the apartment, you paid for your year, you got you some furniture, you got enough things to make sure you can
Eat
um,
and sit and
just
work.
operate.
Yeah.
You can be there.
Yes.
Would you say once you were settled in,
Never settled. Because again, it was still a temporary stay mentally.
okay, so once you had the things that you needed so that you could work and live,
Hmm.
how was it cost wise for you?
Cost wise,
I know it
I
wasn't.
think honestly, I've been back here a few days, and I swear I feel like I spent more money in a day or two, a weekend, than I could, in a couple weeks in Nigeria. And I'm like, oh no, I need to go back. This is bad.
So now you see why I always run my butt back to Africa, because it's like,
It's just cheaper. The cost of living is cheaper. People's income are much less, so the cost of things are much less.
yeah,
Um, I bought something on Amazon maybe 2 days ago for $5 that I know I can spend 100 naira, a fraction of the cost there, for,
right,
to give it, just to give you perspective. So everything's adjusted for the cost of income. So if you're a foreigner coming there with your money and buying things at the cost of living there, well, you'll be okay. You will be all right.
right,
So, and I particularly was very particular about making sure we did not spend more than we could afford if I lived there permanently. So
right,
if everyone else can only, if the standard was you can only get this, if the standard was people spent 40,000 naira a month on grocery, then that's how much I'm spending. I didn't want to be on an American spending pattern. I wanted to be in line with everyone else. I did not want to be the Americanaire spending more just unnecessarily. I was
and,
very
and
particular
it
about that.
typically makes you like a target too if
Oh
you
no. It makes you a target for extortion. Yeah, I mean you're gonna pay
absolutely,
more than you
absolutely,
necessarily need to pay if you carry on like that. And your
absolutely.
money would be now there are some times, and then I told someone else the other day, I had what you call a blessing wheel, and certainly it was mental, there are people who were especially good to me, or especially humble, or especially hardworking. And I would see those people and see what they're doing and recognize them by spinning my blessing wheel. So just to give you an example, one of my husband's cousins, just a humble, he's a really humble guy. He wants to be a tailor, a designer. He has big dreams and big goals, but he didn't even have a smartphone. He didn't even have a smartphone. So when he was making clothes for you, he would sketch it out by hand, real old school.
Yeah,
So I spin my blessing wheel and I got him a little smartphone, just the basic, off brand, it's not iPhone or the newest Android, but it's something that so you can share pictures with your potential customers and say, is this the
right,
gown you want? Is this the shirt that you want?
right.
And I split my blessing wheel and got him a secondhand machine. So I was very particular about living within my means and living within my means as if I lived there permanently. But
Mhm.
because I was an American with some additional capacity and additional resources, I did split my blessing wheel for people who I thought to be especially deserving.
Yeah, I think that's um, from my experience, most
Yes.
people who end up moving to the continent, they tend to do just that. It seems like, especially once you get there and you're there, and it's like, okay, I can't spend all of this money,
Yeah.
but what I can do is I can bless people when it's befitting, and or when
Yeah.
I feel I can, for one, and when I feel like it's absolutely necessary, like this person deserves for me
Yeah.
to go out of my way and bless them.
Yeah.
You know, when there was one time you wanted a hamburger, and I think
Oh
that
my God.
that I for
First of
whatever
all,
that's
I didn't really get my burger. We had to end up making some. And one of the, when I came back, I said, let me get a burger. Let me just go to McDonald's. Let me just taste it. And my stomach instantly felt sick.
sick.
I was
Yeah,
like, why am I putting this? I shouldn't. I haven't had this stuff in my body for 7 months. Let me not start this now.
yes. Don't even
So
start that mess.
instantly, I didn't feel good.
Yeah,
Uh-uh.
it's not, you haven't had, your body has detoxed from all of this stuff. So
Oh,
you're probably gonna have another culture, the culture shock of coming back is probably
my
gonna be,
God. I was sick. Like, I was like, oh, no, 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 no. I had craved that. Just some cheese on a burger melted real good.
yeah.
But and I
You need
said,
to
let me get
make it
this
yourself.
one.
You gotta
It
make it.
wasn't what I wanted. But
Yeah,
there, I mean, when I was there, the cheeseburger is the most American thing that you could have.
yeah.
And so the fact is, cheese is not a part. People keep saying, oh, well, they have pizza in Legos, that you must have cheese. But the fact is, you have to get in your car or a vehicle or Uber or whatever to go to the grocery store, which is not easy and accessible. By the time you spend all that money and time, you like, you know what? I'm just gonna eat what's at the market right downstairs. It's not even,
It's
it's not
even
even
worth it. It's not even worth it. Yeah.
or, and then you're gonna buy a pack of cheese that's going to not last because the power keeps turning off, and your refrigerator and your generator cannot power up the fridge. So you
Right.
just waste your time and your money. No, you just
It's a
no.
lot to learn. And that's why I think your experience, although you weren't there for repatriation,
Yeah.
you ended up pretty much experiencing what people who are going to be repatriate and will experience. And
Hmm.
um, at one point you decided that you were going to try to start getting around. I think the conditions had relaxed a little bit and you all could get out and
Yeah.
get around and about even more. What was it like going around and seeing more of Nigeria, like more than you probably would have ever gotten to see?
Well, for me, I'm a traveler, and so that's what makes me happy traveling. And I got to the point where, okay, I had been coming to Lagos so often, you know, in a non-COVID environment, I would actually get my husband to meet me in other ECOWAS countries just because I was so tired of seeing Nigeria, Lagos particularly. But since I couldn't travel without the borders were closed, I couldn't travel outside of the country. I just took it upon myself to travel within the country and set a goal to see some of the 10 largest or the 10 most popular cities, whether that was Abuja or Warri or Weary, Calabar, some of these other places within Nigeria. So I just kind of set that as something on my personal agenda and knocked that out. So I
Mm-hmm.
would stay home and then,
Mm-hmm.
move around the country a little bit and then come back and then move around the country a little bit. And it gave me an opportunity to not only meet other people, see other things, but cross a few things off my bucket list. And that's just more of a personal preference, for those that be in like Ghana, whether you just get tired of Accra, so you want to go to Kumasi or,
Right.
some other places. I just took it upon myself to do that.
Yeah. So now that you're back here, uh, I know you haven't had much time to decompress yet.
Not at all.
This is your first time actually really talking to anybody about it. Is there anything in particular that you just really want to share about that experience that you feel like people just gotta know?
Um, I don't think it's have to know. I think that I'm very open about my journey. I made a Facebook post this morning about someone I met yesterday. And when I was talking about this, everyone that sees me is like, tell me about Africa, tell me about Nigeria, tell me about your experience. And one person, so very directly and very boldly, asked me, um, does he have money? Or what is the benefit to you? I don't think she could understand why I would go over there and why I would go over there in a pandemic. What is the benefit to me? And so I think, some other people might have answered her differently, but I see everything as a teachable moment, a learning opportunity. And that is always the question. When people ask me, you go to Nigeria very often, how expensive must that be? That is very expensive. A ticket to Nigeria typically costs on average $1,200. I just bought some tickets for in the $600-700 range the other day. So that's kind of on the low end.
Mm-hmm.
But this COVID ticket, I think it was about $1,500 and something dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be spending anywhere from $600 to
Yeah.
$1,600 to
Yep.
get back and forth. And so, as a traveler, that's an investment I make in my life, something that I enjoy.
Right.
As a wife, I think it's necessary. I mean, I know foreign spouses that I'm in groups with women that may have seen their husband, they talked to them on the phone for 2 or 3 years. And the first time they went and saw them, they got married. That wasn't my experience. I've also been in groups where people got married and they haven't been able to see their husband in 2 years. That
Mm-hmm.
wasn't my experience either. So I always remind my husband of how much work and how much effort it takes to come over there. For those familiar with immigration struggles, Nigeria is banned right now. So it's not like he has the luxury of coming to America. He can come to other African nations that are much more welcoming to Nigeria, but he cannot come to America. He just cannot. I wish he could, and that would make my life easier, but he
Right.
can't. Not even an option in the current political climate.
Right.
Um, he can't come. So just making those type of investments,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even, I'm still thinking, is it worth it? I don't know. I might wake up 5 years out of this sleep or slumber and decide what happened here. What was I doing? What was I thinking? But for right now, it's the type of experiences that I want to have, the way I embrace and celebrate African culture. I did what I wanted to do. And so this is not something that there are plenty times. I mean, even to take a shower, that was a process, that I don't think most of my friends could have endured.
Yeah.
The water in the area that we lived in was not good water. It was definitely bad water, and it would come out brown, it would come out yellow, it would come out red, it would come out different colors, which we had to put in buckets,
Oh.
put alum, leave it for 5 hours to purify it, filter that out, put Dettol just to take a bath. So when I came home and I took a hot
Wow.
shower the other day, I was like, wow, this hot shower
I
with this
know.
clean water feels so good. You know? So little things that you take
Little
and
things, yes, the little privileges that,
like, look, this hot shower.
yeah.
You know what? I stand in the shower for 20 minutes.
You
You
know,
can't stand in the shower for 20 minutes when the water is coming out brown or red. You don't know what that's doing to your skin. You're gonna have to hurry up and get out.
so
Even putting Dettol, which is cleaning agents, in your water, which is very normal in African and Caribbean culture. Yeah, I
uh-huh,
never had to do that here, you
yeah.
know?
So full disclosure, I've
Mhm.
had people know that some people do know that we have known each other for a very long time, and um I've had people to like message me and say, "What is your friend doing?" Like, why is she putting herself through that struggle life over there? And
On
I
purpose.
never heard anybody have to. do all of that, and why is she bathing with that kind of water? I live in Accra, and I've never had to have that experience. She's making it seem like it's just so bad in Africa, and I'm like, okay, she's sharing her experience.
Yeah.
And I even
And
had
to be honest with you, my friends and my family in Nigeria, they hate when I share those things, whether I'm talking about the power being outed or the color of the water. I mean, but that is my truth. That's my experience.
it's just, I
You can
mean,
move to a different part of town and maybe your water's clear. Maybe.
right. So, and one person asked me, they said, does her husband not know where to get a place where the water would be clean and they wouldn't have all of the issues that she's having? So I'm asking you for them. Did why did you all have to endure those types of conditions when that's not, it wasn't that necessary, or was it just
Oh,
something that
it
you
was
didn't know?
necessary at that price point. I mean, anyone that is truly has been in Nigeria for a long time, and a lot of people, even my Nigerian friends, get upset with me because when I tell my truth, the fact is they're the haves and the have-nots. This is
Mm-hmm.
my experience. There are people that have money, and there are people who do not have money, and there is not a very big middle class. There is not. And so, yes, there are areas, whether you're on the island, Banana Island, Victoria Island, Lekki, there are neighborhoods that are very nice, very international and suit international tastes. But that's not those areas that the person making 30,000 naira a month, living on US dollars a day, those are not the places that they live. That's the fact of them. They're not buying 1 point something million naira condos and paying up front for a year in advance. So I chose to live at the level that was sustainable for my family. I don't even like the fact that I am the breadwinner now. I'm managing a household in DC. I'm paying mortgage and car notes and preparing to get my son a car and preparing to do tuition here. So what I don't need to do is create a luxury lifestyle, or didn't want to do is create a luxury lifestyle in Nigeria when I knew that I wasn't going to be there permanently.
Right.
Now, if I had made the choice to pack my home up in Virginia, when my son's off to school, and this is a permanent move I'm making where I'm going to only have one household, then certainly I would get the best of the best.
Okay. So
But that wasn't.
with that being said, considering that your husband is most like it may be some time, if
Yes.
ever, that he would be able to come to this side of the world. Um,
Yes.
is it even a possibility, now that you've had the chance to stay in Nigeria for 6 to 7 months, that you would consider moving to Nigeria, or would it need to
Um,
be another African country or another
Not at
country,
this
period?
time. Not at this time because before I was a wife, I was a single mother. And my first priority is my son Jordan, who battles his own issues and has special needs and some disabilities and some challenges there. And so my goal is to get my son to college. So prior to doing that, I can't even entertain the idea of moving somewhere permanently. I was away from him for close to 7 months, and that was the longest time we've ever been apart. I'm used to maybe sending him off for 2, 3 months in the summertime. But until I get him off to college, it's not something that I would entertain. And he's in the 11th grade. So it could be something I'd entertain in maybe 2, 3 years. But
Okay.
right now, it's not something that I would entertain on a permanent basis, just based on my
So
needs and
let's
my.
just say, fast forward, Jordan
Yes,
is in college.
yes.
He's straight. He's living his best life as a young adult. Would you then be willing to maybe move to Nigeria, or do you think it may have to be another place?
I think I would. Someone asked me this question. I think I'd be more open to doing the type of lifestyle I would do now, which is, when I grew up, my grandmother, she spent 6 months in Canada, and she'd be like, "I'm going home. I'm going home." She spent 6 months in Trinidad, six
Right,
months in Canada, 6 months in Trinidad, and I
right.
think I would do that. I think I
Yeah,
would definitely be open to that type of lifestyle,
yeah.
where I'm spending half the year here and half the year there. but
Yeah.
just to say I'm packing all my stuff up, goodbye, America. I think that my family fought hard to be here and worked very hard to be here,
Hmm.
pay their taxes here, petition, file applications to be here. So I'm not quite ready to throw that away,
Yeah. So
I benefit from being um American, being Canadian. And so I'm not ready to give up those things and
yeah,
freedom.
I'm sorry. I don't we didn't mention to the audience that you're like a triple citizen, right? You
Yeah.
you're Canadian, an American, and a
I will soon be. I will. The first
Trini.
thing I'm going to be working on next is my Nigerian wife visa status, so I can have some type of permanent residency in Nigeria. Mhm.
You don't have your citizenship in the Caribbean too? Which aren't
No, I mean, if I wanted to pursue that option under my parents, most places you acknowledge dual citizenship, right?
right.
So if I'm going to when I went to the bank earlier today, it was dual citizenship. That's what's typically recognized. And so if I'm going to be dual anything, I prefer to be dual in Canada and America. If something happened and I needed to extend that or kind of demote one of those, then I can certainly pursue Trinidadian. I'm not even there. I'm visiting for carnivals, and
Right.
or I would pursue Nigerian citizenship. But based on the value of Canadian and American, I have chosen to keep those passports, to keep
Absolutely.
those citizenships.
Absolutely. I think that's absolutely the smartest thing you can do.
And certainly with all the immigration issues and, you know, um, I'm not rocking any of those boats right now.
Yeah, I feel you. Like it's not even worth it. I wanted to be clear for the audience that you're a Canadian and an American. Your parents were immigrants from
Trinidad.
Trinidad. And I don't know why I keep wanting to say Barbados, but
Trinidad. My
Trinidad.
grandparents are Grenadian.
Mhm,
So whether it's Grenada or Trinidad or Canada, my roots are definitely Caribbean.
mhm.
You know, my roots are Caribbean, but
So
I
last but
wouldn't give
not
that up.
least,
Hmm.
how what would you say to someone who was thinking about moving to Nigeria?
Um, hmm. I would say do your research and be prepared for things that are not necessarily normal to us. Like you almost have to shift your mindset at times. Like I was telling someone, when you get pulled over in Nigeria, they're not setting a court date for you to return to court and pay your ticket. You're gonna pay that ticket right there. You're gonna want to you're gonna settle that matter right there. And as an American, that's like, what?
Yeah,
What
it's
is
like
what is this?
what
What
is
is everyone wants to settle. How do we settle this? How are we going to take care of this? And those are some of the things that are really strange to us, but it's so embedded, it's so deeply embedded in part of the culture that you have to like mentally prepare for it. People, I talk to people and they be like, but this is Nigeria. And I'm like, but this is not normal. And they be like, but this is
right.
Nigeria. So I would say you kind of have to like mentally prepare for some of these things, mentally prepare for some of these things. And particularly for those of you that are even thinking about being married to someone from a foreign country, the value that people put on marriage is like different. In America, you could be like, you know what? I'm not feeling you right now. I'm getting divorced. I'm
Right.
I'm going to the courthouse right now. This is over. I'm like, yeah. You go to the police and be like, my husband is whipping my fucking ass. And honey, they be like, go home and settle it. It is
Exactly.
serious. You are married. And
Yeah,
it is
you said
it divorce is not cool. It's not popular.
yeah.
You need to settle it. You need to go settle it. Let's go settle your matter.
So
Yeah.
being married to a Nigerian man, living in Nigeria, um, and all of the things that came along with the COVID shock. I won't even call
Yes.
it culture shock, the COVID shock.
Yes.
Now that you're back in America, um, does it make you really appreciate, what we have here?
It does. I mean, I really appreciate what we have here. The only thing I miss over there is the cost of living. I really miss that.
Yeah. I think
'cause
for a
I
lot
could
of
do
people,
more.
that's a draw. I think that's a
Yeah,
draw for many
cost
people.
of living, especially if you have US dollars, the cost of
Right.
living. I missed that already. I'm missing that.
I
But
know.
um another thing that's huge and major is different for me. I like going into Walmart and knowing exactly what I need to buy and how much it's gonna cost.
Yeah. And
No,
not
and then
having to
everything is
haggle.
what? Everything. You want a ride? You
Everything.
want some
Every-
water? I mean,
Everything.
what do you want? Some
It can
juice?
get exhausting.
I mean, no. How much is this? 5,000? No. 1,000? No. 2,000? No. I mean,
Oh,
and
3,000.
so,
Okay,
so,
25,000.
so, like having to haggle for everything. Like I'm not the domestic type. Like that's not my thing. So even the fact that you need to prepare yourself to go to the market to get whatever you need and haggle for it in many cases.
Yeah.
It's a part of my husband can do that. I
That's
don't have the
really even
struggle. I don't have
good.
the energy for that on a day-to-day basis. It's just not. I don't have it.
I feel you.
I definitely don't have it.
Well,
Mm-mm.
thank you so much for sharing